what are hyperkey sublayers and how to press them. That is the way that I navigate basically everywhere in my system, not only between the different apps that I have, but I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so how do I press them? Let me switch to another scene so you can see this a little bit better. This is my keyboard. The quality of the camera is not the best, but you will be able to see how this works. This is my hyper key where my right thumb is, right? So hyper key sublayers is just like a 3-key shortcut or key map that you press, right? So notice that I'm going to switch to a different application in the background, right? So I'm just going to type here hyper, just leave it pressed. That is the only key pressed right now. A, that is here. And I'm going to type the letter K, which is the one for my browser. You're going to see my browser in the background, right? If I want to switch back to YouTube, for example, same thing. Just leave this hyper A pressed. A is for application in my case, right? Just going to tap Y. That is going to take me to YouTube. Hyper A J is going to take me to my terminal. And I'm also going to show you how I do other stuff with sublayers. Let me just switch to a different scene in OBS so that my keyboard is not that big. My keyboard is usually not that big on the screen, but for this video, I want you to see what's going on so you can have a better idea. Now, there are several comments. Well, not several, but a few comments in my previous videos that talk about raycast. That raycast can switch between apps and use the hyper key and all that stuff. It can, but it's very limited. If in raycast, I define key maps to switch between apps, hyper A to switch to one app, hyper J to switch to another one, those keys are gone. I cannot use them for anything else. But in my case, as you were able to tell, hyper A gives me a lot of other keys that I can press to switch between apps, right? So I have a lot of different options, and A is just one of the sub layers. We're going to look at the configuration file, and all of this is going to make more sense right now. So I just mark this as done. Also this, how is this different than raycast? I already explained that, because raycast, you use one of the keys, hyper A, that is gone. You cannot use it for anything else, basically. I don't know what the Linux alternative for this is. Remember that I'm in macOS, but I'm pretty sure that there's one alternative. I know about one. We're going to talk about it later in the video. But if you're a Linux user, please let me know down in the comments what you use to achieve the exact same result. I'm planning on trying Linux, so I want to use the same tool in macOS and in Linux. And just keep in mind that my main operating system as of today is macOS. Let's take a look at the file real quick, the sublayers file. Just going to type here Hyper+T. That is going to bring me up to this file. Let me go to the very top where my applications are. Okay, so notice here that we can see the sublayer, the A sublayer, if we go to this section, right? So A, and I can switch between multiple apps. H is for Spotify, J for Ghosty, K for Vivaldi, which is my browser, semicolon for ChatGPT, and so on. You can see the list of them here. And I do use most of these throughout the day a lot of times, right? So if I need to go to Finder, I just go to Finder real quick. If I need to go back to the terminal, I just press a single key. But that is just one of the sublayers. That is the A sublayer. I'll keep going down in the file and showing you what else I do with sublayers. Notice that this is the T sublayer, which is used for my tmux sessions. You can see the name of the session every time here. This tmux session is called Karabiner rules, right? So I use the T sublayer to switch between different tmux sessions that I use all the time. If I want to go to my dotfiles, Hyper+T, the exact same way that I showed you how I do it for the A sublayer. If I need to go to my notes, I type Hyper+TU. That is going to bring me to my Obsidian repo. Hyper+T is going to take me back to my dotfiles. If I type Hyper+TL, that is going to bring me to my blog post, right? So I have a lot of different sessions. If I type Hyper+TE, it's going to bring me to this other tmux session. I have a special session just for this file because I tend to forget sometimes some of the key maps. So I need to come here and just refresh my memory, right? So notice that each one of these is a different tmux session, and each tmux session is just a project, a GitHub repo, basically, right? So let's keep going down and let's see what else we find here. This O sublayer is for OBS to switch between different scenes, right? So notice that I'm just going to type here Hyper+O, and the letter G is going to switch me to this other scene in OBS. If I type Hyper+OM, it's going to switch me back to the other scene. Hyper+OK is going to show my keyboard. Hyper+OM is just going to switch to this screen, right? Where you can see basically everything. So notice that you can see each one of the keys there and how they call a different script, right? I have a lot of stuff. This is the way that I switch between the different guest screens when I have multiple guests on the video. So that's why I have the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, yep, for 3 guests, and other scenes that I have there, right? Besides the O sublayer, I have this other E sublayer here, which I use to SSH to my devices, right? So if I type here Hyper+E and I type the letter J, notice that it's going to create a tmux session and SSH into this Docker 3 host. The same thing if I do Hyper+EK, it's going to switch to this other device. And you get the idea. I can go back to this other device. I can go back to the other session that I was on. So this is just in case that I need to SSH to different devices. The first time that I SSH into the device, it takes a little while because it has to create the tmux session and SSH. But the consecutive times, if I go there right now, notice that it's instant, basically, right? So notice that I have this other R sublayer, which is for raycast. That is the way that I show you videos in my channel. If I type Hyper+RY, that is going to bring this up and I can search for videos in YouTube, right? And quickly show you something. I have other ones as well. If I need to do a Google search, Hyper+RK, and I can search for stuff there. I hope I don't have any sensitive information there. It seems that I don't, and so on. I have other raycast extensions that I call this way. If we scroll down to the S section, this is for system or service. So if I need to increase, decrease the volume, notice that if I need to switch tabs in the browser, I have another one. So I do just this to go back or to go to the next tab. So it's Hyper+S, H, or L. I just got used to that already. So that's how I navigate between tabs in the browser. This is really useful in case that I need to execute one of the scripts that I run all the time, Hyper+T. Notice that this is going to show up. And I have a list of scripts here that I usually run, right? So I can just execute one of them and that's it. I don't need to go to my terminal and look for the script, run it. No, I use a sublayer and this works just fine. If I need to close the browser tab, I have another one. If I need to stop or start a video recording, I have this other Hyper+S8 and Hyper+S9. Just run some scripts that execute a series of steps in the background when I'm going to record a video. If I need to connect my AirPods as well, where is it? Hyper+SN, I don't see it on the list here. Yep, here it is, Hyper+SN. This is just to connect my AirPods to the computer because sometimes they connect to the iPhone or something and I just need them to connect to my computer. So I have another key map there. What other sublayers do I have? Hyper+U, this is in case I need to lock my screen. If I need to restart yabai, which is my window manager. Dismiss notifications in macOS. Restart ghosty, I don't think I use this anymore. What else do I have here? This color scheme selector, this is something I use as well. Hyper+CN, it's going to bring up this menu and I can switch between color schemes in my entire system. So all of the colors will be changed, not only the terminal, but also the NeoBeam colors, the kitty colors, BTOP, everything basically, right? So if I need to select text, like the way that you regularly select text in Microsoft Word and stuff like that, I have these as well. I don't have a vertical mouse anymore, but I used these in the past as well. Notice that it's a different sublayer, and the sublayer for that is left command, right? So right command is hyper, left command, and you can type other keys. I don't use arrows in my keyboard, but I have these mappings here, hjkl, and they're basically arrows. So it's hyper hjkl. They function like arrows. So it's another sublayer. Well, that's basically layers because I don't have any sublayers in them. They are just layers. So we already went through this demo, through the overview. This idea is not originally mine. Where did I get this from? If I go to this repo real quick, you'll be able to find this guy, mxstbr. Where is his name? Must be somewhere in here. I don't know. But this is where I got my configuration from. All the credit goes to this person. If you want to know how to set it up, you can go and check this repo. I have videos as well in which I explain how to set this up. I'm going to leave the video on the screen and on the video description as well in case you go and check it out. There's also another alternative, which is the one shown here, which is Goku. I haven't tried it. Some people have recommended it because the configuration that I'm running right now is TypeScript based. Instead of modifying your Karabiner file, which tends to be huge, right? Instead, you use the TypeScript configuration. It's just going to make it more manageable and smaller. So your config is just going to be easier as opposed to doing it in the Karabiner rules files. So this is another alternative to TypeScript. I haven't tried it. I don't have a need to migrate to it because I don't know if I'm going to keep using Karabiner in the future or if I'm going to switch to something else. This is the other tool that I was talking about. Let me just open it real quick. Notice that Kanata, it's a cross-platform software keyboard remapper for Linux, macOS, and Windows. I haven't played with it. I don't know if I can do sublayers. If someone in the comments know how I can do the exact same thing that I do in Karabiner, but with Kanata, I would highly appreciate it. Just please let me know how it's done. And I will probably switch to this because it's cross-platform. So if I ever switch to Linux, I want to have the same keyboard mapper in both of the operating systems, macOS and Linux, so that I can switch back and forth. So if you know how to implement sublayers, please let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm just going to mark this task as done here. I just want to also thank the supporters. Really appreciate it, guys, for everyone that has donated in Ko-fi. Also, I want to thank my YouTube members. If you want to become a YouTube member to keep this channel going, please make sure to subscribe or get to the memberships tab. That's going to help me keep creating more content. Or if you want to donate in coffee, I'm also going to leave the link in the video description. If you want to join Discord as well, I do have a server, so I'm going to leave it in the video description so you can join there. You can ask questions, you can help others and meet people with similar setups. Now, if you want to learn how to set up your macOS computer with a single script, you can go and click on the video that is going to be showing up here. And also, if you want to learn how to work with Karabiner, check the other video that I have about Karabiner. It's going to be showing down here. All right, so hope this video was useful. Let me know down in the comments what improvements you have or any other recommendations, and I'll see you in the next video.